You know, whenever I talk to my mom about anything, she just tells me to get to the point. So what is low percent, and how do you do this challenge in Paper Mario with the 1,000-Year Door? At its simplest, we have to collect as few items as possible that count towards completion. This could mean shine sprites, star pieces, badges, even star points. And after defeating Lord Crump, we have a total of 9 star points. You can't do anything to avoid these because you can't get Fright Mask until after you beat Lord Crump. And even ignoring that, this is a boss, so you can't really scare him away. And speaking of Fright Masks, there won't be very many items more important than these. A lot of regular enemies are very easily afflicted by Fright, like the Goomba trio we find in Roadblock sewers. And using these, we get only 1 star point and not 10 like we normally would get. There are glitches that allow us to get less star points, but I'm not using glitches in this challenge. A bit of footwork later, we reach the 1,000-Year Door and we get our first star power sweet treat. But more important than that, frankly gives us our first and only badge for the entire challenge, Power Smash. A skill that allows our hammer to do 2 extra damage upon impact. As mentioned earlier, badges count towards completion in your journal. Power Smash just so happens to be the one badge we're forced to pick up. Not much later, we encounter the first boss in the game, Blooper. There really isn't much to say about this boss. Once the tentacles are eliminated, you attack the main body, and keep doing so until it goes down. We can expect a lot more intrigue from the bosses later on in this challenge. After all, remember, we can't use Attack FX Star for Hooktail. And speaking of her, we begin Chapter 1. The only required enemies here can either be skipped by using Fright Masks in the Shrunk Fortress, or by proving we are smarter than a 5th grader. However, not too much later, we encounter the Gold Fuzzy within the Shrunk Fortress, and we reach our first big roadblock. Now, if Golden Fuzzy was alone the entire fight, this wouldn't really be a problem for us. Unfortunately, after you do at least 3 damage to Golden Fuzzy, or he falls to 7 HP or less, the Fuzzy Horde is summoned, and we get a lot more star points upon their defeat. Now normally you'd be like, oh yay, more star points! But no, we want to minimize the star points we can get if it's possible. And in this fight, it indeed is possible. Now as is, we don't have access to Power Rush, any Power Plus badges, definitely not Mega Rush, and even if we did, we couldn't use those badges anyway because of course, we can only use the one badge we have, Power Smash. With Power Smash, Mario's hammer does a maximum of 4 damage, which would only get us halfway there. We need just a little more help if you catch my drift. Fortunately, scrolling down the description for Power Smash reveals that this badge does more damage if you have multiple copies of the one badge equipped. With 2 equipped, it will cost 4 FP to do a total of 6 damage in 1 hit. Which is close, but we still need a little more help to make it really work. So let's rewind a bit and head back to Rogueport Sewers. Because herein lies the key of how we can actually get our second Power Smash badge. While doing so, I also wait for the audience to throw me a Power Punch, which I also need for Chapter 1. Occasionally, Shy Guys will throw it to you from the audience. This item increases an ally's attack stat by 2 for 3 turns. Now, on the note of the second Power Smash badge we need, there are only 3 methods available to getting this badge. The first one we already got, from Frankly. The second one, however, is using the Pianta Parlor and buying the badge from there. But the badge isn't available for purchase until after Chapter 2 is completed. And even ignoring that, this is low percent, so we can't get the key item required to make the badge available to purchase anyway. So we're left with only one more option, Spinias. Namely, encountering a Spinia, using a Fright Mask, and praying that it drops a Power Smash badge. It sounds simple, and in reality, it is very simple, though that's in addition to being dreadfully time-consuming. In Paper Mario the 1,000-Year Door, the way drops are calculated is that after an enemy is defeated in a random battle, there's a 50% chance that absolutely no items or badges are dropped at all, a 25% chance that a held item or badge is dropped, though this is entirely random if multiple enemies are holding items or badges, and finally, a 25% chance that a random badge or item is dropped that isn't being held. We want the latter, because that's our only chance of getting a second Power Smash. Doesn't sound so bad, right? Well, it gets worse. All enemies you can encounter in this game in the overworld have different drop rates for each item, badge, and just getting absolutely nothing. Even if a random drop is selected, there is only a 1 in 333 chance that it will drop a Power Smash. There are other items and badges that can be dropped too, like for example, Pretty Lucky and Pretty Lucky P, which coincidentally enough can also be held by Spinias, to say nothing of the more likely to be found items like say Thunderbolts or Sleepy Sheep. So altogether that's what, 1 in 1332 chance? I'd say that's worse odds than winning Lucky Day from the Happy Lucky Lottery, but most people by now know that it's a scam. So let's put it this way. You are almost twice as likely to get into a motorcycle crash than you are to find a single power smash drop from fighting Spinions with fright masks. And if that's not relatable enough, I'm sorry, I'm not very intelligent. Oh, and by the by, if Power Smash doesn't show up, well, we got an extra star point from it, and we can't use that in low percent. So we're then forced to reset the entire game, reload our save file, and try again. Mind you, this is being done on console, so no save states, no speed up, just me and my 3 friends, B, X, and start. And it just drags on and on and on, where each attempt takes at least a whole minute to do. Minutes turn to hours, and hours roll into days. And after a while, I just had to keep telling myself,
maybe this day won't be mine. Or the next. Or possibly even the next. Or 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 the next after that. But the one after the next. After the next. After the next. After that. Well, that one after that. Right next to that one. That will be my day.
Well, now that we have these 2 Power Smash badges and our Power Punch, we can now use a basic attack against this Gold Fuzzy, use the Power Punch on Mario to make him burly and big, and then proceed to use Power Smash, doing a whopping 8 damage in a single hit, KOing the Gold Fuzzy without the Fuzzy Horde ever spawning. Though despite that, the Fuzzy Horde still appears after the battle's over. No, that doesn't make any sense. I guess the game did not expect you to beat the Gold Fuzzy without beating the Fuzzy Horde alongside it. Anywho, we have to suck up on Fright Mask for Chapter 1's Dungeon Hooktail Castle. And trust me, we'll need the Fright Mask soon. Very soon. There's also a new partner, Koops, who also should help us a fair bit in this challenge. After all, when all we can do is just stand still and use Fright Mask and hope that it actually works, we can't really do much to defend ourselves. The next fight of interest is Red Bones. We have a maximum of 10 Fright Masks at any given moment, which, yeah, may sound like a lot, but then there are fights like this, where 90% of the time, your Fright Masks simply do not work. Now granted, the odds aren't necessarily that bad because of the fact that with 4 different Dolbos on the screen at a time, at least one of them has to be scared away, right? And you know, if it was that basic, it wouldn't really be a problem. But these are Dolbos we're talking about. You know, enemies that can rebuild each other and make more copies of themselves. Yeah, oftentimes, even if a Dolbones gets scared out of the battlefield, there will be a new Dolbones to replace their spot immediately. As a result, if you did make progress in this fight, it may not even last. And bear in mind again, you have only a maximum of 10 Fright Masks per fight. If you run out, that's a reset, and you have to try again. And there are lots of ways this can go wrong. You can go several turns without even one Dolbones getting scared away. You can scare Dolbones away just to immediately have them be replaced by other Dolbones. You can scare away the wrong Dolbones, leaving the Red Bones to rebuild their army, and therefore not being able to make any progress all the same. If it was the front Dolbones, I wouldn't really complain very much, but the back ones, which you can't do anything about because no power jump, meaning you can't even immediately attack the Red Bones, which really sucks because A, it has more HP, and B, it's the only enemy on the field that can't be scared away by Fright Mask, which means you have to KO it regardless. And rest assured, I was surprised when I saw that the front 2 Dolbones were scared away, and Mario had a clear shot to KO the Red Bones with a single Power Smash. Grateful, despite the fact that this took roughly 2 hours, but all the same, I was very surprised. Most future fights, meanwhile, really don't matter for anything at all. With or without attack effects are, I'm not scared of Hooktail. She perished all the same, and here I am, still at level 1. Comparatively speaking, Chapter 2 is basically nothing to talk about. There are the Shadow Sirens, but they're pieces of cake, so who cares about them? I do level up though. Since we're stuck with only one badge, either HP or FP will be seeing increases as this challenge continues. And without being able to rank up partners, there aren't going to be a lot of moves worth using that cost FP either. It is worth increasing at least once, but that's really it. Expect our HP to be very high. And yes, it will be a cursed visual by the end of the game. Flurry is also here to accompany us, and she basically outclasses Goombella, but not by much. Her attacks are better against enemies with defense, but Goombella is better with attack boosts. Not like it really matters though once we beat Chapter 3 with Yoshi, and neither Tattle or Gale Force can be used to any real effect in this challenge either. The former because of the Tattle log, which I do count towards completion, and the latter because using Gale Force on enemies still gives you star points. And seeing as both partners will soon be outclassed by Vivian, their times both in the spotlight and being Mario's preferred love interest won't be for long. Especially when we can't get Miss Mouse, who would totally sweep all three of them, don't at me. Within the Great Tree itself, however, we have Exhaust to deal with. And something I learned here, make sure you always have Fright Masks on hand. You can't beat them up yourself, otherwise you get extra star points, and that's not allowed. For two of these fights, that's not really that big of a deal in case you forget, but the third and last one, there's a save block down here and you're basically trapped if you don't have any Fright Masks on you. You don't want to go through all that grinding and then end up having to reset your entire challenge because you forgot that Fright Mask on you because of excess you forgot about existing. All that's left in is Magnus 1 Grapple, who we beat up, and that's chapter 2 that's done with. Chapter 3 now, oh boy. If ever Grubba gives you the condition to not use items, that's basically an instant reset. Because we have to scare literally every enemy we find here with Fright Masks. And one of those fights involves Dull Bones. If that's not a kick in the pants, I don't know what is. Yeah, just in case, I'm gonna save my game and copy my save file just about over here. I don't want to do that ever again. Or so help me, I will... What the Okay, but theatrics aside, the worst is already behind us. After all, 3 is still less than 5. It doesn't make fighting Dull Bones in the Glitz pit any less tedious though. And since failing a condition forces us to fight a previous enemy, we don't want to fail the conditions at all. Of course, the Ironclaps can only be beaten with Yoshi, so we get more star points that way. Forget the rematch though, and forget Bowser. There is also an exception though to Fright Mask being forced to be used because Dark Craw is actually immune to Fright. And get this, besides Rock, Hawk, and Macho Grubba, he's the only exception to that rule. And he's just a regular enemy. But hey, easy fight, easy level up. Oh yeah, fun fact. Fright Masks count as you attacking, so don't do that. Anyways, then Rock Hawk would fall, and finally Macho Grubba ending chapter 3. Meanwhile, chapter 4 had basically nothing to note. No regular enemies, just 2 fights with Dupless, and then we're done here. Pretty short honestly. We even level up. Inversely, chapter 5 has 3 different fights against Embers. And for this chapter, quite frankly, don't worry about Fright Masks, you can actually buy them on the island if you wanted to. They're even cheaper here. Though these Embers are really freaking stubborn, I only have 2 Fright Masks left now. As we make our way to Cortez, we did have this pesky star piece that won't let us pass. I gotta avoid grabbing it, or my run's invalidated. A blip on the radar really, but all the same, it's an obstacle. From here we survived the fight against both Cortez and Lord Crumb and the X-Nuts. And chapter 5 is done and done. Got a lot done so far, so I decided let's just beeline to chapter 6 and finish that too. A short while later, we encounter S'more. Wait, what? That didn't happen. Are you serious? Oh no, I forgot about the fact that there were Goombas here. Yeah, just before we can get the Ultra Boots, there are 3 loadouts of Goombas that we must fight. And how many Fright Masks do I have left? Only 2. And I can't go back to get more. I'm trapped on the train. And do Goombas still give star points? Yes, they do. This sucks. But like, can you blame me? Who ever really remembers the fact that there are Goombas to fight here? I could grind the audience for item throws, but I'm not willing to put up with that anymore. So screw it. Remember that backup I made back in chapter 3? Well, it's time to use it now. I'll tell you what though, I didn't see that coming. And on that familiar note, guess what else I didn't see coming? What's wrong with my TV? My TV just turned itself off. Now let's be honest, you don't have even a snowball's chance in the underwear of getting this right. But that buzzing sound was the sound of my TV breaking as I was doing an unrelated project to this challenge run. This happened while I was recording something different where I tried to grind the maximum number of piantas I could possibly hold in this game. And so without a TV, this would be borderline impossible. That being said, I did eventually make my way back up to this point in Riverside Station, this time with Fright Masks in tow. Just instead of a TV, I had this really freaking ghetto looking setup where I used my Wii U gamepad as a TV instead. Also, this much is notable, you're forced to grab a Shine Sprite on the Excess Express train. It really doesn't matter for anything. We can't even rank up any partners without at least 3 of these things, but I did feel the need to cover it to save myself questions later. Continuing on with the challenge though, Smorg was not hard at all. Thanks to both Thunder Rages and Power Lift, this fight was actually very short. Not even the claw was able to come out. Kinda anticlimactic after all this build-up, but I'm not complaining. I should mention though that in Chapter 7, you do fight 2 elite Exots on the moon, so make sure that before you actually get flown off here, you bring some fright masks with you. Otherwise, you my friends are screwed. Following that though, there are no mandatory enemy fights outside of Chapter 8, so now there's Magnus Grapple 2.0. Definitely one of the more awkward fights in this challenge, because we have only 2 partners that can really do any damage, Vivian and Bobbery. And neither are particularly good at handling the X punches either, since Bobbery can only hit them with Bomb Squad, and Vivian, as I've learned in an unfortunate way, actually gets hurt trying to Shade Fist them. This is handled decently well by Earth Tremor, but I don't have a lot of SP going around, at least not if I want to be efficient, because I'm going to use Power Lift every now and then. And since this is low percent, my audience is actually pretty small, which means I'm not getting a lot of SP back whenever I attack anyway. This could have been mitigated if I had more attacking items, but for some stupid reason, I deposited just about all of them except for like 1 HP drain which I found on the Exnot Fortress. So the X punches were a bit of a problem to deal with. Not help is Magnus 2's audience cannon, which just takes away more of the audience from me being able to restore SP. Yeah, this fight sucks. And it didn't help either that I didn't have a clear plan in mind for this fight either. In fact, on my first attempt, Vivian got knocked out, and my super shrooms did not allow Mario to restore his HP fast enough. And I had no life shrooms, so my only option would be the super guard. And yeah, I may have won the fight after that, but I'm not really comfortable finishing a fight with a super guard being used if I can help it. So I tried again. This time though, I had Vivian be swept up for Bobbery after the first attack. It didn't really matter though, because I saw an opportunity later in the fight to drop Bobbery down to only 1 HP left, so was to take advantage of the extra SP regeneration. But then again, hindsight was 20/20, I suppose. Actually, speaking of hindsight, this decision made no difference at all because I had a star bingo happen just earlier. I guess I never did claim to be strategically gifted. I just pressed buttons, what else can I really say? Bobbery did get KO'd by the way, but it didn't really matter because one more spin jump and we won the fight. And there you have it, our 7th and final Crystal Star. I'd love to go to Chapter 8 right now, but to be honest, the bosses in that chapter are actually pretty tough. Meaning we're gonna have to prepare amply. Dark Bones, not so much, just Supernova and use the Thunder Rage and they're basically all gone. It's the fights afterwards that are difficult. Fortunately, money's not a concern, otherwise this would really freaking suck. Now, before fighting either Gloomtail or the Riddle Tower, I did the math and tried to find out which path would give me less star points. And it turned out that it didn't matter what choice I made because either way, I will only ever level up on the final fight, whether that's Dark Bones or Gloomtail. Though only in post-commentary I realized I didn't really need Fright Mask for the Riddle Tower. Yeah, somehow I thought I was only level 5 when I'm in fact level 6. Not a big loss of time, but I still cringe all the same. Then we beat up Red Bones, then Dry Bones, and finally Dark Bones. That much was the calm before the storm. That storm being Gloomtail. Decided the first thing I wanted to do was use Power Lift because I really need the extra Yes, Mom. As I was saying, I really needed the extra power because Gloomtail has a lot of HP, 2 defense, and hits like a freaking freight train. I can't do much on the defensive side though because Gloomtail's breath attack actually ignores defense. So most of what I could really do is restore HP and rely on my bread and butter spin jump attack. Once again, I was mostly just freestyling this fight. I wasn't keeping track of HP or anything because I already knew all the HP triggers. So I know he reacts if he has either 48 HP left, 32 HP left, or 16 HP left. One thing's for sure though, I really wish I had Vivian on me right now instead of Bobbery. Because despite the fact that Bobbery has more HP than Vivian, she's immune to the Earthquake, which otherwise deals full damage to Mario and Bobbery both. So she would have actually survived for longer. And because of the damage that Bobbery would be taking throughout the fight anyway, he wouldn't survive the Mega Breath because he wouldn't be at max HP to actually take the hit. Despite this, Fortune was smiling on me, as a boo actually made me invisible for a turn. Yes, very much appreciated. And I'm the 16 or less HP trigger no less. And so against my own feelings of lacking self-confidence, I managed to KO Gloomtail using Supernova, winning this fight on my first attempt. He had 1 HP left. If I only had not missed that one spin jump, or even if I just used Sweet Feast, I'd have won this fight on the first try. Well, I'm sad now. Oh well, he burned to death a few fights later. Now we're able to actually complete the Riddle Tower and fight the Shadow Samurais round 2. I thought it'd be thematically appropriate to do this fight with Vivian, and let's just say it really sucks to be a Vivian right now. Due to her low max HP, she actually got knocked out on the first freaking turn. So I then proceed to use Supernova and then Ultra Hammer to KO Beldum on turn 3. I would then bring out Flurry to just help me beat up Marilyn and then finally Duplos with Yoshi, even though Yoshi really didn't do anything. By the way, because I never ranked up any of my partners, when Duplos copies one of my partners, he's actually really bad at doing damage. No doubt you also noticed that because these fights are actually kind of hard now, we're actually talking about bosses and not just skimming over them. That, and if I didn't talk about bosses, well, there wouldn't be much else to this video anymore. Up next is the double feature, Grottus, Bowser, and Kamikoopa. Okay, yes, that is technically 3 bosses, but it's only 2 different fights. Now I don't do this very often, even though I probably should do it more, but I decided to at least plan out how I would fight Grottus in this challenge. My items of choice here are a Fire Flower and a Shooting Star. The former for the sake of immediately clearing out the Grottus X's on the first turn, and the latter to take out the next wave of Grottus X's so that Mario's attack isn't hindered by Grottus' newfound defense. After that, all Bobbery would have to do is keep using his bomb attack, while Mario uses Earth Tremor and Supernova. So long as I guarded every attack, neither Bobbery or Mario will get knocked out in this fight. And what damage we do take doesn't really matter because after this fight, we level up. Just in time for Bowser and Kamikoopa. In all honesty, I didn't have much of a plan for this fight at all. My only thought was to KO Kamikoopa as quickly as possible. So the first 3 turns saw Mario use Spin Jump twice, Bobber use Bomb Squad twice to hit Kamikoopa specifically, and then Supernova to finish her off. I just went all out on Bowser after that. First one to die loses, and because I had no life shrooms, I had no plans on dying. And sure enough, it was Bowser to get flattened. And it really feels something special to be at this point in the game at only level 8. I knew that with glitches, this could be at an even lower level, but honestly, how often do you see anyone fight the Shadow Queen with the Rising Star stage? Anyhow, we have one more fight to go, and it's the Shadow Queen, who in preparation for, I got a Gradual Syrup, a Boost Sheet, and a couple of Life Shrooms. There were other items, but I feel like those 4 were the most important here. Once again, I did have a plan for the first phase of this fight, but it didn't actually work out very well. I tried using bomb squads to advance the second phase faster, but I had very bad aim, and the bomb squads were not spread out as far as they had to be. Fortunately, it didn't really matter though, because the Shadow Queen mostly focused just on Mario, and he has plenty of HP. Which for me meant an additional life stream for the final fight. And it's surprisingly simple. It was just a lot of art attacks and spin jumps, sometimes some spring jumps, and the occasional AoE items to wipe out the left or right hands as fast as possible. We did succumb to Dangerous Breath a few times, which really sucks because the Shadow Queen loved using Infatuate Breath on us. But at the end of the day, we were just fine. And after an admittedly rather drawn out battle, the fight was over, and we managed to win with no life streams left, and the only item we really had remaining that wasn't thrown to us by the audience being a single shooting star. Ending our low percent challenge at level 8 with 76 star points remaining. A special thank you to both Splash A and MB Switchy for being my channel members. I really do appreciate your donations, it means a lot to me. And if anyone else is still watching this video but you can't donate because let's say you don't have any money, that's honestly perfectly fine. What's more important to me is not your money, but your time. So click here and watch my partner-only series for Paper Mario 64, and that will be awesome. This is Phantom A, and until next time, thank you for watching.